Welcome back to the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel. I'm Ernest, and we're here today for another day in the life of a mobile mechanic episode. We've got plenty of jobs today. It's getting close to the weekend, and I've been super busy with school, so I haven't been doing 4 or 5 jobs a day recently with school. It's just impossible. But today we've got about that many, so we're gonna head out this morning. We've got 2 emergency call-outs for 2 no starts. Then after that, we've got a diagnosis and about 2 other things pending that may come through today. They may be tomorrow, but we'll try and get them all done today if we can. I'm just waiting to hear back from some people. So we're gonna head over to the parts store this morning, pick up a few things that I need for a project I'm doing and for some of these jobs, and then we'll head over across town and look at the first no start. That is a crank no start, and the second one is a no crank no start. So we should be able to figure it out. We've got all the diagnostic equipment in here, and we'll get over there and figure it out. Here we go. All right, so I just got that stuff. Let me show you actually. Basically, well, I got a bolt spacer for the battery on my truck here so I can run my inverter on it. But I got some crankshaft and some camshaft position sensors for this first crank no start because it's a Nissan 3.5. Pretty common issue for it to be one of those. So I grabbed 3 different kinds that there are. That way we get over there and I don't have to run back to the parts store since I was already here this morning for those. Then we can take the other ones back, return them that we don't use. Sometimes I replace both of them because they like to go out around the same time, so it'll just be an issue of getting over there and looking at it and seeing what it probably needs. But my guess is it's one of those sensors. Yeah, but I haven't heard it crank either. He said it cranks, so it could be cranking real slow and just not having enough speed to get started. But I feel like, I asked him if it was cranking at normal speed. He didn't mention anything after that. So it's probably just the one of those sensors. We'll see. There's no way to tell till we get over there, and then we'll check out the other one afterwards. So here we go. I just had an oil jug fall over in the back here, so I pulled over real quick just on the shoulder of the road, and I got this cleaned up. So, well, I got some rags on it, that way it didn't spread all over. I was afraid it'd just leak out and get all over everything, so I pulled over as fast as I could. And this truck ain't running too good. Now it's got 0 oil pressure at idle when it's warm, so that's starting to concern me a bit. It's got some lift pump. It's been having some lift pump issues. It's starting to stutter real hard going across town. I'm not sure how much this old 6.5 has left in it, but we should be good for today. I'll get this cleaned up and we'll get back on the road, one thing after another. Ooh, she's having some trouble making it up these hills. Recently, yeah, she's not running too good. Well, I'll tell you when we get there about this truck here in a second. We're almost here. She's got no oil pressure unless I give her some throttle. Oh man. Yeah, she's just struggling up the slightest hills. Well, I'll drive her around today and see how long she lasts, so hopefully she'll make it all day. All right, we're here, we made it. Let's get a look at this car, and I'll tell you about this truck, what's going on with it as we diagnose this car, which has been on an episode before. This is unrelated to anything we've done before on it. All right, here we are. We've got some guys cleaning out the vents for some dryers in this apartment complex, so it's gonna be a little loud. All right, before I even try and start it, I'm gonna plug this computer up and see what codes we got here. And then after I get these codes, I'll try and replicate the issue by starting it. Once it's not so loud here, I'll talk about this truck a little bit, but we may just have to wait till I'm done with this job. Interesting, I thought it was going to be a crankshaft position sensor, but he's got a key code So his key isn't matched to his vehicle anymore. I don't know what happened. Sometimes the computer can just reset, or the RFID chip inside the key corrupts. But he's going to need a new key, so he's going to have to get an automotive locksmith out here to do this. This isn't something I can do. If you can see there, he's got some misfire codes and stuff as well. But I'm going to try and start this. Hopefully we can just get it started for him. But it's, you know, looks like he's going to need to get a new key match to his vehicle here. Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm going to give an automotive locksmith a call, see if they can get out here today and just double check, in their opinion, make sure that this is the issue. But, you know, this code's clear as day that this key's not matched to the vehicle. A new key made for it. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to come out here, I can tell you, explain it a little bit, or, you know, but that's pretty much it. It's got a couple of codes, but the main one is that the key's unmatched. So you're probably going to have to get a automotive locksmith or somebody to come take a look at it. I don't have any computers that can do that stuff, so yeah. Do you have the new key with you? Can I help you check and see if that'll start it? Okay, let's do that. Okay, so news is this is the old key for his vehicle. He has a new key that he didn't try, so he's bringing that out here. We're going to double check and see if that new key gets it going. Okay, here we go, new key. That's it. All right, that's a job well done. We'll head over to the next one. Well, that's super funny. That's a job well done. He apparently has a new key for his vehicle that he didn't try out. So hopefully you could see it. I'll zoom in on the dash there. You could see the tachometer go up to 1,000 RPMs or whatever. It was clearly running, but it was real loud, so you probably didn't hear it. But I do have a microphone on the camera now. So here's what's going on with this truck. Well, maybe I'll get out of here. I'm taking up 2 parking spaces. It's kind of how I do it in an apartment complex, is just park where I can, sometimes right behind the vehicle, just kind of blocking everybody's way. It's not ideal, but if somebody asks me to move, I'll be more than happy to move. But people are usually real understanding. I've got the flashing lights on. I'm out here working on a car that, hey, somebody else is in need of some help. It's usually pretty understanding. We'll head over to the other no start. This one was good. Satisfying to get that fixed, you know, quite simply as well. Just a couple minutes of being here. And this other one's actually real close by in another apartment complex, so we'll head over there and see what's going on with this vehicle. And this is another one we've seen on this channel before as well in a different episode a long time ago, so we'll see what's up with this. Okay, so here we are just a few blocks over here. We're going to get out, look at this car, and see if we can get it started as well. All right, so here we are with the vehicle. It's got some pretty bad terminals on the batteries here. The battery itself is pretty old as well. So I'm going to test it to see the charge, but I know what I'm going to do regardless, which is half the people on this channel's favorite thing, replace these battery terminals. And I'm only going to address this question / issue once because I get a lot of comments about it, and I just never care to explain myself because I'm allowed to do what I want to do. But I replace a lot of battery terminals because I don't charge people for them. It's just something nice. It's a little something extra you can do as a mechanic that, you know, if I'm not charging somebody for some battery terminals, I buy them in bulk packs of 10 for a couple bucks. They don't cost me hardly anything, and, you know, you got some really bad bent up old battery terminals that are oxidized, corroded, and bent out of shape, and they're not even connecting halfway decently anymore. You know, I can put a new battery terminal on there for you, and it really helps, you know, my business people think, well, you know, he's gone out of his way to give me a little something extra. In this case, this may be the only issue here. The battery may be dead as well. I'm about to test it, but it's going to get new battery terminals. That's the reason. People always are like, oh, Ernest, you're up selling battery terminals they don't need. Again, this is the only time I'm going to address this, but I'm never charging people for battery terminals unless, if this is the case in this job, I come out here and that's the only thing it needed, that's what's going to be covered under the call out fee. You know, if that's all it takes to get their vehicle started, then yeah, they're going to pay for them. But if they look junky like these ones do and I'm replacing them, they're not getting charged anything extra for them. It's just something nice I'm doing. So comment again if you want to, I don't care. But that's the reason for why I'm always replacing battery terminals and getting them nice new terminals on their batteries so that their cars don't break down in the winter. When it gets a little bit of oxidation, it's so dry out here in Utah that these battery terminals really just seem to have an issue getting good connections when they get a little bit corroded and when it gets cold out here. So we'll go ahead and replace these and test this battery and see what's going on here, but it's not starting. All right, so I've got this Autel battery tester here. It's got a printout, so I'll show you the printout of the results. In fact, I've actually got an extra one of these, and just off the top of my head, I'll I wasn't planning this, so I'll put it in the title though. But let's do a giveaway. I've still got 2 more of these because I always get a few from each company that wants to send some. So we'll do a giveaway. Leave a comment down below, you know, a wholesome comment, or share the video, or both. Let me know if you shared the video. Just do something to, you know, share the video or leave a nice comment down below, and you'll be entered in the giveaway. We'll choose somebody randomly in 2 weeks. Well, no, let's say a month, because sometimes these videos do really well after 2 weeks. So in a month, we'll pick a winner for this battery tool, and just check the date that it was published. If it's still within a month of then go ahead and leave a comment down below. But we'll give away one of these tools. They're real nice, and let's test this battery real quick. Well, either those connectors aren't connected and this battery's dead. But what I can do is just go straight to the post there on that battery instead of the terminals. But yeah, this battery's completely dead. So yeah, this car doesn't get driven much. This guy's at college out here, so I'm gonna replace these terminals and we'll jump it off and see if this battery holds a charge. So we'll also test that alternator at the same time. But no printing out that battery tester. It won't even come on with this battery.
How much it costs and all?
Yeah, you can see this terminal is pretty loose anyways, the fact that it just spun by itself. But this, we're gonna need a new battery here regardless if it sits dead for that long and it's old. And both these terminals, I'll show you when I get this one off just how bent this is. I need to use an impact that'll just sit still while I do that. Yeah, I could probably pull these terminals off without even loosening them. But we'll put new terminals on. I'm not going to clamp them on super tightly. We'll have to jump this off and send them. See how I just pulled that off? We'd have to jump this off and send them to the auto parts store. What they'll do is they'll install them there. Sometimes I'll pick batteries up and bring them with me, but I didn't in this case. I may have one that fits it, but I don't think so. So yeah, he could just drive down to the auto parts store. They'd install it for free there. So we could jump them in. As long as that alternator works, he could get to the auto parts store. But you know, if he doesn't drive it that often, maybe he'll just let us know here in a minute, I mean in a day or two, and we could come back and bring him another battery if he wanted to pay for it like that. And you can see just how bent that one is. It's got this rubber spacer in there. You can take that out when it gets real bent. There was no helping it at that point though. This is just bent beyond being able to help. So there's just no connection in there. It's a lot of corrosion. You can see how this is bent at an inwards angle. It should be nice and flat against that post. So we'll clean these up and put new terminals on. Again, he's gonna need a new battery regardless. So we'll just get new terminals on so it's ready for that new battery. All right, every time I use this tool, I mention it. Everybody always asks what this is. It's in the description down below. All the tools I use are in the description down below, so check them out. And yeah, they're all links to Amazon. So if you buy those, it'll help out the channel a little bit. This is good for just eating up that acid. This spray here, we'll let it sit for a minute, then wipe it up and finish cleaning that off. Here we go, we'll clean this off, and then we'll get going with these new terminals. Yeah, so that engine, I think I'm gonna replace the engine in that UPS truck I was mentioning. It's running real bad. I almost didn't even make it over, it's just a few blocks. So I think I'm gonna go home, let that cool down and see if it runs better. I may take the Rescue Ranger back out. I'm gonna have to replace the transmission of that Rescue Ranger anyway soon, but at least it's driving good across town. I think I'm gonna come and swap this truck though, because that 6.5 Detroit doesn't have a turbo. It's always been, you know, underwhelming the amount of power that it had. So I may just come and swap it. It's gonna cost about the same. But I think it just occurred to me, if you wanna help out, you know, you wanna support the channel or that engine swap project specifically, I'll make some videos about it. I think I'm gonna set up a GoFundMe so you can donate some money if you want to help put a new engine in that UPS truck. You know, if you're a channel member, you're also helping as well. But if that's something you don't want to become a channel member, but you want to help out with that specific truck engine, then check out the description down below for that link for the GoFundMe, where I'm going to be saving up some money here over the next month probably to do an engine swap in that. Yeah, so we'll get these new terminals on here. Here's what I'm talking about. I can just buy these bulk packs of terminals from AutoZone. I love shopping at AutoZone, so I always say that. I just like their quality. Their warranties are real good. They'll pay me if their products go bad. And over the last year, I think I've done like 3 warranties for different products from AutoZone, so their quality's really gone up. I like them. And AutoZone, if you want to sponsor me, hit me up. We'll get these terminals on here. I like buying them in these bulk packs here. Then we'll just go straight to these. These are almost marine style terminals. When you leave them like this, they're normally crimp. You can crimp them, and they're universal terminals, but they're lead free. They're tin plated brass, which are you know, pretty conductive, but they also, you know, just not as bad for you as those lead terminals would be, or for the environment. So can support these, plus they work real well. So we'll get these on. Then all we've got to do is just connect them as if you would a marine style terminal, like the ones we took off. And you don't need to use those crimpers at all, which are like this. If it went straight to a wire, you could crimp the wire in here, but again, we don't need those. Yeah, I've just been taking this UPS truck to smaller jobs, you know, and with school, I've just been doing one job at a time across town. I get back, it's cooled down. It's been running rough, and I haven't really thought anything of it, but now that I've got, you know, 5 jobs today lined up, and I'm running all across town, by the time I've, you know, been driving it for half an hour here, it's starting to show that it's really not capable of running well when it's warm. So again, just that, and the fact that 6.5 has always been underwhelming with no turbo. I think a Cummins swap's probably the way to go on this. So not ready to do it just quite yet, but I'll start saving up, and hopefully in about a month we'll get that going. And I put a Cummins in this truck. They've got kits for swapping Cummins into the 6.5. My only concern is getting it out of that UPS truck. You can't. I'm afraid I might have to lift the body up on it, but I don't think I will. If I have to disassemble that 6.5 a lot to get it out of there, I'm willing to do that. So. And you just got to tighten these tight enough to where you can't spin them by hand when you push on them. So that's just spinning. We'll go just a little bit tighter, about like that. There, it's not spinning. That one's spinning. You don't want to smack on these. You can cause some damage to those posts. Okay, nice and tight there. Then we'll tighten up that top piece, but those don't have to be super tight either. Same deal, just tight enough to where they don't wiggle if you pull on them. So. Okay, that'll do it. We'll jump this off. We'll test that alternator, make sure it's not an alternator issue that killed this battery. But a lot of times you got to replace both at the same time. You know, if you get a bad alternator and an old battery, you know, they can damage each other. So we'll clean up, we'll jump this off, and we'll test that alternator before we head out, and send him either to the parts store, or have him, you know, he can go pick it up with a buddy or something and replace it himself, or we can do it for him later. So a couple options. All right, so we get this jump box hooked up here. Battery's completely dead, so it doesn't register it. I'll just bypass that. And it's good to go. So now we'll unplug this. This will be a good test of the alternator. If it keeps running, that's a pretty good sign. Ooh, that may be an alternator issue. All right, let's try that one more time. Okay, go ahead. We'll leave this on for just a second, make sure that it gets, you know, maybe it was the voltage regulator hadn't started registering yet. Did you turn it off?
No.
Yeah, it looks like we may have an alternator issue here. Okay, let's start it one more time. Okay, well, we've got 14 volts here, and 14 volts there. That's interesting. Well, I don't think this puts out 14 volts. Let me try. Let me just double check this, make sure this isn't putting out 14 volts and confusing me, because normally jump boxes will put out 12. So, all right, so this jump box is actually putting out 15 volts. That's where I was getting a little confused here. Normally jump boxes put out 12 volts. So when I saw that it had 14, I was thinking that alternator, you know, if it has 14 and your jump box is putting out 12, then that alternator's, you know, putting out more voltage than that jump box. However, this is putting out 15 by itself, so 14 on the system. Looks like we've got a bad alternator over here. I checked the connector. Everything looks fine. You know, the serpentine belts on it, that's always something you'd want to check. And sometimes this will happen. You know, you put off, you know, you jump start your battery, you know, 5 times in a row because you don't want to get a new battery yet. And, you know, you just put a hard load on this system, you can end up causing problems with the alternator here. That's what happened in this case. Just putting off this battery for so long that, you know, they're connected in this power generating system that you know, it happened to break this alternator as well. So we'll come back here a little bit later in the afternoon when I've got some more time. We'll bring both of these parts with us, and looks like we'll be putting a new battery and alternator in this vehicle here. So we'll check back in later this afternoon, but that's a diagnosis well done. This truck is having some issues. Watch, I'm gonna floor it. It's floored, look. It's not, it's just crawling. I've got this thing smashed to the floor. There it goes. Yeah, so it's doing this weird thing where it's got to pick up. I don't know if it's the lift pump. I think the injector pump's gone out on it as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run across town. I'm going to park this at my house, assuming I can make it there. Hopefully I do. And then I'm going to run, do another diagnosis just in the Rescue Ranger. I'm going to let this cool down. I'll pick up the parts on my way back in the Rescue Ranger. And then hopefully this is cooled down enough by the afternoon that we can come back over here in this to replace that alternator. So that's the plan. And again, if you want to support helping me swap a Cummins into this, check out the GoFundMe down below, because we're going to have to do that. Looks like I'm not going to be able to take this truck out too many more times with this 6.5 in here. I'm flooring it. And then it just kind of picks up. There it goes. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, I'm power braking it just to get like 5 psi of oil pressure there, which again isn't good on the torque converter, and it smells real bad. It smells, the exhaust doesn't smell right. Yeah, trying to keep this oil pressure up just to make it home. But, we're almost there. Oh man, I'm super close. I just shut down here. I'm gonna let it cool down for a second. I just got far enough off the side of the road. You can see the white line just beside the UPS truck there. So I'm kind of on the shoulder here. I've got my caution lights on, but I literally am just like a block away from home. So the lift pump sounds terrible. Oh, there we go. Maybe we'll make it. Oh my goodness. Go. Okay, alright, looks like we'll make it. Man, that's stressful. I know I don't show emotion a lot, but this has got me pretty stressed out today. So again, if you want to help out, check out that link to the GoFundMe. I'll probably be able to do it if I save up for about a month and just work out of this Rescue Ranger. But again, if you want to help out and support me in the channel, check that out, please. And we'll head out in the Rescue Ranger and do those other diagnoses. We can do it, but it's tough having to grab tools every single time and move them back and forth. So the goal is to get this done, put another tool, separate toolkit in the Rescue Ranger, and then just have both vehicles working separately for when I need them. This is just not my day. I forgot to move this. Hold on. Make sure it doesn't get underneath. Dang it, I picked up this oil jug because it was by the door. I moved it back here and I forgot to set it down before I drove. So I guess everybody, every now and then you get one of those days that just nothing seems to go right. This is one of those days. So let me clean this up before I head in and get some lunch. Well, undoubtedly this can be 100% attributed to how rough that truck was running across town. Normally I don't have any issues. In fact, one time I drove across town with this sitting on the bumper. But normally I don't have any issues with this, anything sliding around back here, but it was running so rough and shaking, and then, you know, how you could see it was just starting to accelerate out of nowhere. You know, just get going. That I guarantee you that's what caused this to tip over in the back. And again, it's my bad for leaving it standing up. I knew I should have laid it down, but I forgot by the time I left. And one more thing. All right, so I just had lunch, got a sandwich real quick. I'm about to clean up the oil that spilled in the back of this truck, and then we're gonna look at this car that has headlights on the right side that aren't working. I think it's a Volkswagen Jetta. I'm not even sure. We're gonna go up there and figure it out when we get there. And this kid used to own a Volkswagen Jetta. I'm assuming it's the same vehicle. Before that though, I just had a friend send me a text message. He said, hey, if my car is leaking oil. Is that going to be expensive? So I told him, I said, man, I don't know. We just fixed this car like 2 times in the last 2 weeks. Completely unrelated because we replaced the coil pack. If you've seen that video or remember it. And so he's going to come over here. I told him not to drive it if it's the engine oil, but he said he was close by and was just going to stop by. So I'm going to look at his car real quick before we head up to do that other diagnosis. I'm going to go shopping on my way back from that diagnosis and pick up that alternator and battery, as well as return those sensors from this morning we didn't need, and then we'll replace the alternator after that, and maybe do a few other things. It's still a little bit early in the afternoon, so we might have time to get a bit done, so we'll see what all we get done today, but looks like it's going to turn into a long little day. Puede ser que nunca se apagó, nada más que cuesta más tiempo o algo así.
No, estaba pensando, dije, bueno, voy a comprar un aceite y se lo pongo. Dije, bueno, pero ¿de qué sirve si se lo pongo y lo va a tirar como...?
Sí, el siguiente.
Otra vez no me di cuenta y un amigo como le cambió el aceite según él y me robó mi tanque porque compré uno de estos como de así y le puso poquito y después se lo llevó y yo como, ¿qué onda?
Alright, well, show this. There's just enough oil on the tip of the dipstick, and by just enough I mean the tip of the dipstick just reached it, but there's not enough anywhere here, not even the minimum. So we're going to top it off. It looks like it's leaking transmission fluid underneath. I don't see anywhere where oil's come out of, so he said he was parked in a spot that had oil when he drove out, so maybe, you know, he didn't see it happening. Maybe it needs to be more full. But the oil pan itself's pretty dry on the bottom of the engine, so we'll top it off and check.
Pero el
530.
530.
Okay, a ver.
Sí, porque cuando lo he estado usando como mucho durante la semana, la verdad.
¿O sí o no?
Sí.
Sí. Sí, aceite de transmisión tal vez, pero aquí de motor aceite no está tirando ni nada de transmisión. Okay, yeah, so let me just show you that oil pan. See if we can get a look under there. Yeah, so just dry under there. There's oil underneath the transmission oil pan. So we'll check the trans fluid here just to see if there's some in there. It probably has to be running to check it, but I just want to see if there's anything in there first. And then we'll double check it while it's running if it needs to be warm. It is warm. La transmisión que tenga.
La neta no es nada.
Sí, tiene aceite. Pero no es como que está goteando mucho, es que sale.
Entonces tal vez se salió de ahí, fue lo que ensució un
No,
poco.
yo no creo que está goteando tampoco. Muy, o sea, está goteando, pero no mucho, como para que uno diga que está goteando así, no pasa nada. Y el power steering hace ruido cuando doblas, como no, está bien. Okay, so here we have the situation was this car, my friend here who drives it, his roommate was telling him that he was getting the ground dirty where he was parking, and that he knows some stuff about cars himself. So he looked under the engine and said, look, this is bad. He pointed out his serpentine belt, which I took a look at and said, yeah, I mean, it looks a little old, but I would have never looked at it, told somebody, hey, you need to replace that. So he probably doesn't know what he's talking about. Again, there's no oil dripping off the bottom of that oil pan. It's clean. If you could see it, the oil pan's dry. The transmission, it's, you know, it's wet from oil, but it's not dripping. There's no like significant drips anywhere. And I double checked the fluid on that transmission's fine, so it's not leaking anything out of there significantly. So yeah, either that oil was already there or, you know, just a little switcheroo on them there, but nothing here that looks worrisome. We replaced the coil pack on it last week, and I didn't erase the codes. That a cylinder 4 misfire is still there, so we went ahead and erased the codes now, and we'll check and see if that light pops back up. But again, if you saw that video, that was a pretty solid diagnosis and fix there, where that coil wasn't giving out any spark on the 4th cylinder. And check that out. I'll put the link. I'll put the video right here at the top of the screen. You can see it. And yeah, that's that. So we're on to the next one. All right, here we are back at AutoZone. I'm going to take again these sensors back. Oh, hopefully I grabbed those. Dang it, I forgot those sensors. Well, I'm going to get that battery and that alternator and warranty out a tool, and we'll head up there, do that diagnosis. All right, so we just got up here. We're gonna diagnose this headlight. I think I've had a job fall through for today. There was one other one that I was gonna do. Well, there's two. I'll probably still do the other one, which is a radiator hose, it looks like. Their heater stopped working and he said it looks like it's dripping from one of the hoses, so we'll check that out after the alternator. And another one, the job that I'm not gonna probably do today because I haven't heard back from the person still, is they had a locking lug nut on one of their tires that was flat and they couldn't get it off. I guess it was parked at their place or whatever, and they needed me to come get that locking lug nut off, which I have a kit for. Again, I haven't heard back from them, so slim chance we do that. If we do, it's going to be later this evening. But we'll do this headlight, and then we're going to do the alternator battery, and then we're going to do that heater hose, or that radiator hose.
Just that little light. Yeah, the little one. So, and then also on the back.
All right, so there you go. We can see that. We've got a headlight here that works. This one doesn't work. This little fog light works. That light doesn't work. That light doesn't work. The blinkers in the back don't work. So there's quite a few lights here that aren't working. So we'll dig in and see if we're getting voltage to these sides, if there's a fuse missing, whatever. So I can test fuses with this as well, actually. This is a nice little tester. It'll just test for continuity. Let me show you here on this. So as long as there's continuity, I can see. So I'll pull the lid on that fuse panel and I'll just poke all the fuses and make sure they're all in place and working. If one isn't working, we'll go ahead and replace it and check them, and then we'll test for voltage. Last thing at these lights here, figure out if we got a wiring problem or if we got problems in the connectors or something. All right, so there's a fuse panel here and there's a fuse panel beside the driver's side door. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I'll give you a report at least of what I find here. Continuity there, 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 there. At least we know all those fuses are good. There's two relays. Let's look on the front side of this fuse panel here. Those all look good anyways, but we'll test them. Main power to that fuse panel there. Okay, those are all good. We'll test the ones inside the door here and then see what's going on. I really like those Bluetooth headphones. I've been wanting some for like 2 years, but I'd never gotten any. And because I never answer the phone when I'm working because my hands are all greasy and everything. But I've been using those recently. They're super nice because when somebody calls, I don't have to touch my phone to answer. I'm not wearing them now, but I was wearing them earlier. You might have seen them. Okay, all four up here good. Here, gonna be bad. Or does it just not have metal prongs? Yeah, that's a very weird fuse. Look at this. After I drop it, it has no metal leads on there to test it, but I can see here it's good. I can also test it right here on my leg. I'll show you. That's good, so we can see there. That's good. Put that back in there. Weird fuse though. Fuses are good, so let's test voltage at the lights now. We've got them turned on. This car may have seen better days though. Look at all that oil right there. If you can see all that oil there, that's something serious stripping here that needs to be addressed. And I doubt it's that filter just not being on tight enough. Let's see. It feels tight. Maybe lost a gasket, maybe double gasketed. But again, I doubt that's the problem. It's probably coming from something down here on the front. I know some of these Audi Volkswagens have oil pumps on the front. I'm not sure about this model of Volkswagen, but a lot of oil there. If you can see, just covered in oil, so that's not good. I'll have to let him know about that. But we'll test these headlights anyways. And of course, they're not just a simple connector. There's like 6 wire connectors, so we'll see what's going on. We've got a retaining clip in here. Okay, this one can't be plugged in backwards. It actually has a little detent right there and a spot for it to go in, so most likely that this one's not bad plugged in wise. Could be bad connectors here. Then the light itself is just powered by, you know, straight touching 2 wires right there, so we'll see if those wires are in place. Okay, the wires themselves look like they're in place. Let me test for continuity right there and just double check that those are working. It may just be an issue of those having not connected that bulb itself properly. Okay, this is a new bulb, but just in case, I've got my power probe here. So we're gonna test this bulb here. Just make sure it lights up without trying to blind myself here. And we don't wanna touch the bulb and get it all greasy. Okay, so you see there, give it power, that bulb comes on. So bulb's not the issue here. Let me get my multimeter and just check. Should say 12 volts right now. Nothing. Yep, no voltage. So I'm for sure on there, no voltage. So we've probably got a wiring problem or tracing something back, but we're not getting any power right there. So it was probably connected well. Just an issue of tracing that wire back now. Okay, you can see right here I've got the connector at 6 pins total inside this connector. I'm going to pull up a wiring diagram real quick and I'll test these and make sure that we're getting power where we're supposed to. Then if we are here, we'll know we have a wiring issue inside this headlight assembly. We'll just need to be replaced. It could probably be fixed, but I don't do anything like that, taking headlight assemblies apart to fix wires. I would just replace the whole thing, and I think most people probably would do the same. Alright, so we've got the power probe here. It'll indicate whether we have power or not. Let me show you here. This is ground. As you can see the little green light on the negative there. Ground there as well. Nothing, 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 and nothing. So no power coming through that connector. But that's why none of these other headlights are working. We'll plug this back up. Those headlights, the bulbs themselves are likely good. For some reason we're not getting power here. Again, we've got problems on every single assembly over here, including the back. There's blinkers missing, so quite a bit of stuff going on here. But all right, well that's all I'm going to do for this one. I've confirmed that there's no power at the socket here, and we've got good fuses. So I'm not familiar with tracing wires too much. I'm not going to get into it on this job. I'm just going to refer this guy to an electrical automotive specialist I know, or the dealership. And you know, I've read through some forums and stuff just recently as well, that sometimes wires can get cut in the door and everything. I don't even know if they route through there. It looks like it's coming back up through here, through the firewall. But all the fuses are good for it, and again, just no power. So we got problems throughout all these different headlights and stuff as well. So I think an electrical specialist is going to be best at figuring this out, so we're going to refer him there. Well, that was interesting. We saw that we had all those fuses in place. Looked like there was power going through everything, and then all the way down at that socket we weren't getting power. So at this point I'm not sure if it was short-circuited, if there was something in the wiring that was messed up. So I figured rather than waste that guy's time and money, I'd refer him to a specialist. So I know when it's time to quit. I know when I'm a little bit in over my head. So we called that one good where we were at. At least we were able to give them some good information to take over to the next guy, and they'll know where to start. So we'll head over to do that alternator and battery. I just picked both of those up, and they've got good warranties. That's why I like going to AutoZone, is they'll warranty the parts and the labor. And so we'll head over there, get that put on, and then we'll see if we get to that heater hose or that radiator hose tonight. So alright, I just got that oil cleaned up. I'm heading across town over to where my brother lives. He goes to college out here as well in the same town. So I'm going to take him some snowboarding stuff to borrow. That's thrown back here. But he's just going to meet me over there at that job. I used some just degreaser to clean up all this, because you can wipe it up with rags, but if it stays on there, the floor gets pretty slippery. So I degreased it, and it's starting to get overcast for us. That's looking nice. This truck's cooled down, so it should make it across town. And yeah, finish out this day. That heater, I keep calling it a heater hose, that radiator hose job is now like a 50-50 whether we do it tonight or next week, so we'll see. All right, here we are again with this car. Again, first things first, we're gonna swap the battery out, and then we'll test the system again, and then we'll replace the alternator. I've got both with me, but if for some reason we don't need that alternator, I just take it right back. I go to AutoZone like 4 times a day, so that's no big deal. We'll get this battery out real quick and get the new one in. All right, simple, we got that battery in. I'm gonna go ahead and start it now and I'm gonna test voltage. Battery has 12 volts, the alternator puts out 14. So if we're not seeing 14 volts after a few seconds, then I'm gonna double check that alternator and we're gonna go ahead and replace it if we need to. I'll test the connector there, make sure we've got appropriate signal on all those wires. I think it's a 3-wire connector from looking at it. And then we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and start it and see what kind of voltage we have here. All right, well, the battery light on the dash is off, so that's a good sign. Okay, and here we have 14 volts, you can see there. All right, so luckily it looks like that alternator's fine. I'm just gonna double test it. I'll put it under a load with all of the accessories on and just make sure that it's not weak here. And we'll give it a few minutes, make sure it keeps running solid like this, but that's good. And that's what I was hoping, that maybe there just wasn't enough power going through the system for that voltage regulator to kick on, so. All right, we've got those accessories on. And that's plenty, that's 14.23 volts. That's, you know, we need at least 14 volts, so 14.2 is ideal. Some alternators will run up to like 14.6, but with all the accessories on, we've got 14. We got this new battery on, we've got new connectors, so it's not gonna corrode and lose some juice over time, and that's a job well done. No alternator needed here. What an interesting day. We started off the morning with 2 no starts. One was crank, no start, which surprisingly had the wrong key of all things. I'm surprised it even cranked at all. That second one, luckily the alternator was fine, so we just ended up replacing the battery. Don't forget, we're gonna give away one of those battery testers from Autel that has a printout of, you know, it'll test the battery, any type of battery, and it'll print out. It can also do an alternator test and a starter test as well, and give you a printout of exactly what the record is, so you can show it to your customer, clip it onto your receipt. Then later we looked at a friend's car who came by, whose roommate was telling him he needed to get it fixed, and it turns out there was nothing out of the ordinary there. We went and looked at that car. We weren't able to diagnose the headlight issue. That was quite a weird little issue where the fuses were fine and we're still not getting power to that headlight circuit, so we're going to send that to a specialist. And lastly, we went and were able to replace that battery, and luckily it didn't need an alternator, as you could see. Apparently it wasn't getting enough voltage with that jump starter to get the alternator to start charging the battery in the electrical system, but luckily with the new battery that's running just fine. We loaded the system and it looks great. So that's a day in the life of a mobile mechanic, what it's like to get out there, do a couple of jobs, run across town, the problems we run into. It's not usual that I'll run into a problem I can't solve myself. Sometimes I'll know when something's out of my wheelhouse right out of the get-go, and I'll know that you know, I need to refer an electrical problem to an electrical specialist. This one I thought was something I'd be able to handle. I thought maybe it'd be a fuse or something, but it turned out to be a little bit more tricky than the description I got. I thought it was, you know, one set of headlights was out completely, but there was a few things that were working here, a few things that were working there, some things that weren't working all over the place, like the blinkers, except for on one side, so that was a little bit too much. But normally, you know, 2 jobs like that a week, I'll refer to an electrical specialist. Everything else I can pretty much handle. So thanks for watching. I'm Ernest. If you like the video, consider subscribing, consider helping out with the Cummins swap. If you want to check out that GoFundMe in the description down below. Special thanks to the channel members who help make videos and this whole channel possible. A million thanks to them, and we'll see you on the next episode of Roadside Rescue.